IDS, baby.
Yeah, let's do it.
Good to have you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Beautiful booth. SprintRay style.
Absolutely.
Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it.
How many IDS have you done so far?
So my first IDS was 2013. And then I didn't do 20, so I've been doing every IDS since. So here we are again.
Did you do the one in COVID? That was.
I did not know.
You did not
yeah,
know.
no, we didn't do that one. No.
I was in the mid-year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was counting. I think eight IDS. I think we had 3 I did with Noble Biocare.
Okay.
3 with Henry Schein, and then my second one with SprintRay. So a total of 8.
Okay.
I love it every time. It seems it's always the same, but it seems it's always different.
It's the Super Bowl.
It is Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? It is the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
How about you,
the
Amir?
Olympics?
That's right. It is the Olympics.
Yeah, we call it the Olympics. The first one was 2019.
Okay,
So
wow.
They did 19, super tiny booth at the U.S. Pavilion.
Wow! Wow! I love it.
And then the next one was in COVID, and this is the third one, pretty much, right? No, this is third, yeah, third.
And what was the product that you were presenting to the world in 19 at the U.S. Pavilion?
Our Pro line was just launched. We were not even shipping. That was we transitioned from Moonray to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long after Moonray was when you created SprintRay? How long was it until you did IDS? Was it
4 years. First IDS, but 4 or 5 years after the creation of SprintRay. Okay. Well, let's talk about Harvest and Sasha. I don't want to talk about me, man.
Come on, man.
You're turning the table.
I want to talk about you.
No. So we got Sasha and Rob. Sasha, founder and CEO at Harvest Dental. Rob, I think everyone knows you, man.
Yeah, everybody knows
Dental
Rob.
celebrity at the full contour, the great work you guys have done, and now you're with Sasha.
Harvest team.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
So what is Harvest?
What is Harvest? Harvest is a brand that seeks to own normal moments and make them matter on the bench. And whether it's a bench in a dental laboratory or a bench in a dental office, we exist in the prosthetic workflow. We produce consumables. Notably, currently our Easy Gum material, which is a gingiva solution, like here. It comes in almost like a bubblegum strip, and you essentially just lay it over Onyx and cut away the papillas, and you're done. It takes about 10 minutes. And we launched this product in the fourth quarter of last year, and we're just full steam ahead right now. The material is going great. And just getting excellent
Such
feedback.
a creative product, right? This is one of those things that you just pink different.
Yeah.
I remember, Rob, when you called me, when you were at Harvey, you said, "John, you got to see this product." And I don't even know if you had the name for it yet.
You probably didn't.
Probably didn't.
But when you described it to me, I got it right away, and knowing that, and we're not on the bench, we're at the chair side, was where we've obviously built the business.
Yeah.
And the idea that something so easy could be applied by any tertiary staff in a dental office.
Yeah.
And now a dental assistant can produce, whether it be a hybrid on X, whatever it might be, they can produce something that's consistent, predictable, looks great, easy to polish, easy to maintain. This is part of the secret sauce of this product. I mean,
if you're making a chairside provisional, you're printing an Onyx, but you got to get pink on there quickly.
Exactly.
Printing a monolithic shape isn't hard.
Do you have them here?
We have some in the booth.
Yeah,
I
we have some.
I don't have any with me.
We don't have any with us. No, we didn't.
I don't.
We didn't come here
They're
to
in the
sell it.
booth.
Came here to meet
You're
you
always
guys.
selling.
Oh yeah. But look, for us, it's about when the machine stops and the human starts, right? And so obviously, the automation that you guys provide is groundbreaking, and then there's a human element, right? Human automation is what we would call it, right? And so that's where Easy Gum comes in, right? It's the finishing touch, right? You got the Midas touch, and then you've got the finishing touch, which is Easy Gum. And so Harvest is an innovator. We don't exist for everybody. We create products that are are relevant rather than preferred. And so this is one that would be a good example of that. Harvest believes in a brand differentiation model. We call it refreshing by design. And essentially it's about identifying market conventions, right, in product categories where expectations are stuck. So take gingiva composites, for instance. Syringes have been the way to do it for 35, 40 years. And these categories really lack innovation because they're considered too small for some of the bigger players in the market. And that's really where Harvest has found its white space as a brand. And so what we do is we look at these categories that we believe are neglected, and we obsess ourselves around the market conventions that drive the behavior of these categories. And so when you look at something like this, right, this is traditionally going to take about 45 minutes to do. The advantage and the opportunity for us is that nobody has ever asked the question, why does it have to take 45 minutes to do? And to get to that insight, which seems simple on the surface, actually takes days of questioning. I mean, we have, disruption days that are hours where we've got sticky notes all over the wall, and all we're doing is we're saying, what are the things that are obvious about the category, right? Material comes in a syringe, put it on the wall.
Obvious, yeah.
Right? Material needs to be mixed, put it on the wall. Material isn't in a uniform thickness, which needs to be, manipulated, put it on the wall. And essentially arrive to an insight or a big idea that really becomes, wow, how come somebody else didn't think about this? But it's a strenuous process of questioning the things that up until now have proved successful.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
you're challenging the status quo on, let's say, time to treat.
correct.
You're saying how can we find minutes to get back to the practice, back to the dentist, back to the team?
Yeah.
And minutes is everything in a dental practice,
Yeah.
as we all know. So the workflow piece.
Yeah.
And listening to how you're describing that is you're trying to identify how can we find a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes,
Yeah.
10 minutes, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
45 minutes,
Yeah.
and give it back to the dentist with a more predictable, easier outcome, faster.
Yeah.
Could be affordable, maybe not, or more affordable, doesn't have to be, but
Sure.
when you're bringing efficiencies, it's
Yeah.
dentists are struggling today, trying to find how can I do more dentistry, because costs are going up, staffing's going up,
Right.
rent's going up, supplies
Yeah.
are going up, and for them to and payments are going down.
Yeah.
Dental insurance wants to pay them less. So what you're talking about is, I mean, that's where we live. We live at SprintRay is, how can we reduce time to treat and get to patient solutions that are predictable, easy outcomes for the team, and I think you're doing exactly the same thing. On the what comes out of the printer, how can we?
What was it? Machine stops, the human starts. He's
right.
got good lines. Yeah, he's got a lot of good lines.
At the end of the day, and you guys know this probably better than anybody, right? I mean, all we're looking for as humans is a story to connect to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are telling a workflow story. Midas is a story, really, right? I mean, it's the redefinition of what most people would call 3D printing. You are calling a press, and there are attributes that press unlocks that, let's say, 3D printers don't. The viscosity of the material, right? The speed, the scalability, the single cell workflow, the metrics, right? And so to your point, right, where I think companies need to shift to is, instead of selling solutions, we need to sell metrics, right? Because because these are businesses that we're serving, right? Practices are businesses, labs are businesses. And so EasyGum is essentially, we're selling a metric, right? We're selling speed, we're selling efficiency, we're selling simplicity. Easy to train, which is a huge one. That was one of the ones on the board that was an immediate, right? Because in the dental lab space, training, finding talented technicians is really, really hard. And so this unlocks a possibility where, and for the practice rights, it's so easy, your front desk can do it.
Exactly.
Right, and that's kind of what we do. And so the long answer to your question, like, what is Harvest? Harvest is a company that seeks to solve problems in the form of not just product, but solutions, and also just by behavior, human behavior, customer experience. Market conventions can be identified in products. They can be identified the way that practices serve their patients, and it can be identified by behavior, customer service touchpoint innovation. And so Harvest sees even customer service touchpoint innovation as a product, right? Because a product has three things. It has an essence, right? It has something that is creating value. It has packaging, and it has distribution, right? And so how do you innovate a behavior, a human attribute? These are the things that Harvest thinks about when we serve dental laboratories and practices.
Yeah. When did you start?
So I started Harvest in 2004 in a two-car garage. Grew up in the dental laboratory. My dad was a lab owner, and it was my favorite place to be growing up. When my friends went to the park, I wanted to go to the lab with Dad. And so while I loved the smells and the sounds and the fact that he was making smiles, I also saw the grind. I saw the late nights, right? I would go with him after dinner and sit next to him and play with molten wax while he was, trying to get that case up for the doctor. And that was really an inspiration for me to create these types of solutions. When I was 12 years old, I collected two things: baseball cards and trade journals.
Oh, wow.
So I would take the trade journals home and just flip through them, and I would just look at the companies. Didn't know what anything was, but I just had a affinity, a love affair with the business and the market and the community. And and so I started Harvest in a two-car garage. And when I started Harvest, the inspiration for me was a brand called Mont Blanc. You know Mont Blanc,
yeah.
The pen. And the reason is because, and it's funny because this was something I was just very aware of. A Mont Blanc and a Papermate pen that you can buy at Staples both write the same name, right? But what is it about a Mont Blanc that isn't even used as a writing instrument as much as it is given away as a gift, right? Mm-hmm. And the revelation for me is that there's a story attached to every Mont Blanc. And that's how and you, because I learn from you, I really do. I love what you guys are doing. Every product that has meaning, that meaning is communicated in a story. And so I lived in my first warehouse, took my showers at 24 Hour Fitness.
Wow.
I wasn't married at the time. And Harvest has since, grown into what it is today.
What was
and
the first
now
product?
I'm in a podcast with Amir from SprintRay. So.
What was the first product?
Bucket list. First product was a product called Harvest Surfactant, which we still have. It's still very, very successful. And it was a material debubbleizer that was used in model pouring, and also, so traditionally they existed. The category existed for model pouring, and I created one that would also be used in pressing Emacs. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the first product, and I would fill it myself, and then and then it was mostly analog products at the time, and we've since evolved into some digital solutions on the CAD/CAM side. But yeah, that's kind of the story.
It's amazing. And I remember you told me the story of the packaging for crowns.
Yes.
That was also such a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did is dental packaging, how a laboratory sends product to the dentist. Again, another category that has just been neglected. And you'll agree with me that brand is everything.
Everything.
Right? I mean, and for me, I see dental packaging where most would see dental packaging as a sunk cost. In other words, we have to buy more boxes to put our crowns in to ship those crowns to the dentist. Packaging is actually a carrier right? Like packaging is actually a brand asset if you create it as a brand asset, and if you're intentional around using it as a brand asset. And so Harvest invested into developing integrated brand packaging for dental laboratories. And, you know, I would say that we're, you know, I mean, one of the leaders for sure, in that category. So, you know, again, it's creativity, right? Like intentionality is powerful.
Exactly.
And that's what creativity is, it's intention. So you could, you know, a laboratory, I can ask a laboratory, show me what you're packaging your $7,000 All-On-X case in. And it's got bubble wrap, and it's got a cardboard box, and it's got an invoice that's thrown in the box. And with intentionality and creativity, you could easily turn that cost center into a profit center, into a brand asset.
It's an experience,
and communicate experience to your doctor. And there is a sense of I think transacting worth. That you value your doctor, you value your relationship, you value your product. And those are the things that, we do in dental packaging.
It's funny you talk about the packaging. I've always been, a nerd on the whole, I'll say the experience. And I've spent time in the ortho business, the implant business, and obviously in technology. And with SprintRay, with somebody printing a crown, you know, the ability to press a crown in 10 minutes delivered chairside. And everyone knows the challenge that dentists have in getting staff to stay. Number one, hiring the right staff. Number two, keeping them, making it sticky. And the idea that it's going to be hard for my staff member to do, I said, there's nothing easier than Midas. But go a step further. Do you know the Tiffany's box? Does everyone know the Tiffany's box? And why is it blue and why is it special? Because they branded it, right? It's an experience. And do yourself a favor, get your own little box like you're doing. The dentist, get your own little box, and when that box is opened up, whoever, Rob, in this case is your dental assistant going to deliver that crown, have them bring it in to you chairside in that little box. And let Rob tell the patient, I made this crown specially for you. When they open up, there's a little card in there that said, made for you by Rob, signed. Now all of a sudden your dental assistant's a bit of a boutique, like a lab technician, ceramist. They often sign their work. They're artists. Yeah. And then when that patient opens it up and they see it, and then when they get it put in there and they give them the mirror, that team member becomes part of that experience in the packaging. Yeah. And it's a little thing. It's a subtle thing, but boy, it really sends such an emotional message. And that team member becomes part of that whole experience that the dentist experiences every time. When a person smiles, they start to cry, oh my God.
Love it.
And now the team member thinks, I was part of that. I feel pretty proud to be part of giving that smile. And it could start with that little Tiffany's box. It's a great story in the packaging.
I think they call that the Midas touch, huh?
The Midas touch, yeah, exactly.
How many dental labs get that? Understand it. You have more experience.
The ones that we work with.
Yeah. They do?
They do.
And some don't, right? And so it goes back to the thing, like, if you exist for everybody, you exist for nobody.
Yeah.
And so, for us, we're always looking at the smallest viable audience, not the mass market. Right? It's the
gotta write down his quotes.
It's
right?
the
smallest mass audience.
If you look at a bell curve, right? It's the corners. Right, and that's where the cohort is. That's where the customer profile is. And for me, customer profiling is really about reverse engineering yourself as a visionary, and that's why it's important to partner with people who have the same vision. Because when you can reverse engineer yourself, identify the things that you're attracted to, right? And the things that you're not attracted to. The things you're not attracted to, you don't do. The things you are attracted to, you do, as your own brand attributes to deploy. And in doing that, you attract people who are just like you, right? And so again, that a brand creates insiders and outsiders. You can't have a brand without having outsiders, because then you don't have density, and that's what brand is. It's community, and a community is insiders.
Exactly.
So you are. By creating a brand, by defining a bold promise of distinction and keeping it, you are therefore creating barriers around outsiders, and in that barrier are insiders. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right, and so I would love to know from SprintRay, because SprintRay to me I think is a flagship. It's, you know, it's kind of, if you could liken, like, the picture I see right now is kind of like you're in Manhattan and there's all these people riding your, right? It's like IDS, right? I mean, there's just, you look at, printing is everywhere here, right? I mean, it's every 3 booths. But then somebody sees something in the sky and goes, what's that? And then everybody looks up. And there's one thing in the sky and nobody is paying attention about the other things around. That's what I see SprintRay.
Oh, thank you.
I see SprintRay. I do. I see SprintRay as a brand in the sky, pulling eyes out of, right, the ground level and up into the vision of the brand. What is that promise that you're making? What is that bold promise of distinction?
Absolutely. I think for us it was that workflow focus. And we just, at the beginning, decided to just focus in dentistry and forget about anything else, forget about jewelry, art and design, just like all of our competitors back then. And then decided to focus more in making the workflow easier. Like, we were the first one who made the wash unit for dentistry. Like, can you believe before us it didn't exist? Just sold people a printer, go, you're a dental lab, go figure it out. There was no cure box. Like, when we put the profile of the printers, like resins, onyx, ceramic crown in the cure box, people are like, wow, very innovative. Like, no, it's just common sense. So I think it was that workflow focus, and with that focus, the system became more like a walled garden, that things are more controlled. Again, it's not for everyone. People don't like it because they want a lot of labs want the freedom of 200, 300 materials that they have access to, but for us, it's only 4, and they work really well. You don't have access to 45, because when you have access to 45, it's just become very confusing. It's so many new variables for the staff, dental staff. So we just simplified that workflow. And as we went through that journey, I think Midas was born out of just sheer curiosity of how do we make this even easier? How do we make a single unit application specific crown printer that you go from the scan to finish, scan, design, load the cartridge, get your crown, finish it, and good to go. It was that, I think, focus, as well as just obsession with just simplicity and making the whole workflow easier. That was SprintRay. Let's switch the gear to Rob.
All right.
Full contour, man. Everyone, people gotta hear full contour story.
Which one do you want to hear?
How did you start? When was it? It's one of the great success stories and great brand again, right? Full contour. Category killer.
There was 2 guys, Mike Gerard and Greg Harris, that we were trying to sell crowns to. We were in a meeting, and both of them are like, yeah, we don't want your crowns, but if you could sell us designs, we'll be a customer.
Wow.
And my brother Jesse was living overseas in Asia, and so this was July of 2010, and then September we had 3 designers, 3 laptops, and an apartment.
That's it.
And that's how we started Full Contour.
Wow.
With 2 customers and 3 designers.
That was Greg and Mike Gerard.
Greg Harris and Mike Gerard were our first 2 customers, yeah.
And you were using 3Shape back then.
3Shape and Dental Wings.
Dental Wings.
Yeah, Dental Wings. Remember Dental Wings?
R.I.P.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
Yeah, no, I know. So yeah, and then we just grew from there.
How did you pick the name? I didn't ask that question from you.
So my brother Jesse and I were looking at domain names, .coms, and so we were sitting there, and we were on GoDaddy, and My Design Center. We're like, we don't want to call ourselves a design center. That just didn't feel like a good brand, and we kept going through all these names, and we're like, oh, try Full Contour. We wanted something super simple. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's available. So we bought the domain for like $12.
That's it.
FullContour.com, yeah, and then just. And that was our first product. It was just focusing on...
What year was it?
That was December of 2010. Probably when we registered the .com, and then
early.
Formed the LLC January of 2011. Yeah.
And then when did 3Shape join?
Well,
I wasn't at the beginning.
So nobody knew, but 3Shape acquired us in 2017, but we kept it confidential.
Oh,
Yeah. And so
17 was announced. Oh, or not now.
a
Don't
strategic
remember.
partnership was
Strategic
announced.
partnership was
Yeah.
announced. But it was an acquisition.
Correct.
I
Correct.
see. How did you
Yeah.
convince them?
My brother Jesse was meeting with Nikolai and Thijs, and we were just brainstorming, wanted to get closer with them as a strategic partner. And then when they found out how many designs we were doing, Thijs goes, "Wait, you're doing that many a month?" And Jesse goes, "No, a day."
A day.
And he goes, "What?" And so we were their single largest customer of design seats
Right.
in one location.
Right.
So we had a lot of design seats and a lot of designers, and they were very curious about our business, and it was a good partnership.
Very
It
good.
really was.
Yeah, it was a great, successful
Yeah.
dental story.
And then we worked on
Yeah.
3Shape Automate together. That
Yeah,
was
you launched it, right?
Yeah.
That was your baby.
After they acquired us, Nikolai Dykman introduced me and my brothers to their AI development team and said, "We think you guys can do something special." And so 2 years later, we launched
Automate was born.
3Shape Automate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they launched the inlay only on the Automate, which we're
Yeah.
excited because
That was
it's perfect for
Inlays,
Midas.
onlays, night guards. They even got full mouth
Yeah.
anteriors now.
Now, I remember when you demoed it to us, we were like one click,
Yeah.
no interaction.
So I got to tell a story about Rob because this goes back. And
Many years.
you know, every entrepreneur that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, getting to know, work with, like Mr. Mansouri here, has like an incredible amount of passion, tenacity, and courage. I mean, it just goes. And I met Rob when through probably Mike Gerard,
yeah,
and we had the opportunity to have a family vacation together.
yeah.
And Rob's dad, Rob Sr., he told me the story because I've obviously been a salesperson my whole life. And he said one of his successful things that I think he taught Rob Jr. and his sons the same story. He said, if you're going to be successful in sales, you got to have a plan. And he said, you got to have a routine, and you can't break the routine. And it's got to be religious. It's got to be religion. It's got to be in your heart. It's got to be in your head, and you can't break away. And that routine was, when I went out and he was selling advertising, I think the story, and I said, I had it was peas at the time. He had 3 peas in his pocket, like hard peas. I used pennies, but he had 3 pennies in his pocket. And every time he got a sale, he'd move 1 penny from the left pocket to the right pocket.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't go home until I moved all 3 coins. I can't go home. I got to make one more call.
That was my grandfather.
Okay, so it was your
My dad's
grandfather.
dad.
So it's passed down generation
Yeah.
to generation to generation. And when I met you and your brothers and the family, I was at Nobel at the time.
Yeah.
And I think it was in Vegas. And these guys were relentless. I mean, they were relentless. They were
Yeah.
like a dog on a bone to say, I'm not. And they would follow me around. They would follow me around the convention and said, you were relentless. We have to create a win here.
Well, we needed someone at Nobel to attach our sales to the local. We needed zip code reporting down to the sales rep.
Right.
Because prior to John Cox, all of our sales nationwide went to one rep in Phoenix, Arizona. But so if a Nobel rep sold our lab services in Florida, that Nobel rep got 0 credit. And so, but nobody at Nobel gave a shit until John came along, and we bugged the crap out of him. Like, we need zip code reporting.
The pennies were moving every day.
I think he said yes just to get us away.
But we've had a great family relationship, and your reputation in the industry. I mean, both Sasha and Rob, you
been a lot of
guys
fun.
have you've created, integrity, innovation, passion for the business. And I think that's not always the case. I mean, I think you said there's tons of print. There's so much technology, but everybody's making something to make something.
Right.
Versus making something to help the dentist, to provide a better patient solution, to make the dentist's life easier. I mean, you said it. You work on, hey, what problems can we solve tomorrow for a dental office or for a lab or whatever it might be. I think that passion and that creativity is what obviously part of your success. It's fabulous. Yeah.
Great story. So IDS, what have you guys have seen so far? Any exciting
Well, I think
insight?
your new printer, the dual VAT, is very interesting.
Dual VP,
we haven't been here long. We've only been here a couple hours. So
Yeah,
that's probably the most interesting thing I've seen so far,
Yeah.
for sure. Is that, I mean, that we haven't seen much else outside of that.
You haven't
but
seen
yeah,
the
it's-
trios yet? No,
no,
you
we
haven't.
haven't-
Yeah,
we
you gotta
haven't-
go there. Yeah, he was jumping.
I was like, wow. I was like, that's loud. I couldn't
loud.
believe you could hear that in the hallway. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
tell me about that. Like, that's just such an interesting.
It's back to the workflow efficiency. It's just we're printing one material. In 3D printing, anything you can pack to the plate, to put more on that same plate, is free from a time standpoint. Then if you break it into two distinct materials, whatever you put on the other side is basically gain, but you don't have to reload it. So it was that concept, and then when we launched the Arch Kit, which was a small build plate for the big printer, we realized a lot of people do 1 or 2 arches per plate. They really don't use the entire big real estate of 10, 15 arch that they can fit. So then the what ifs come in. How do we split it? Can we split it? But then if you split it, then it's become a bad experience. We talked about it. Then you're solving one problem or you're creating other issues. That was another thing. When you solve a problem, when you think differently, if you create more inefficiency at the end, it's not going to be net positive.
Yes.
So we went back and forth. It was really from 2021 we were working on that.
Really? Wow.
To see how do we make it good, because we had the concept, but it wasn't good. Easiest one was to put a wall between the two tanks.
Yeah.
But then what do? If you want to swap out the resins, you got to dump the whole thing back in the bottle.
Yeah.
It become very messy. So until
these are self-contained?
created self-contained, like and once you solve it, it becomes easy, and people are like, oh, that's simple.
Yeah.
Like the pink difference.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm sure people look at it like, wow,
Yeah.
this is easy.
It's not easy to make, but it's
Yeah,
easy, right?
I'm
That's
sure
the thing.
it's not easy to make.
3 years
Yeah,
of
exactly.
blood, sweat,
Fine-tuning.
and tears, and then everybody goes, how come nobody else thought of that? Wow, that's simple. Simplicity is the hardest thing to achieve, because you're constantly stripping away,
Yes.
right? It's a process of extraction. You start
But,
with an
yeah.
onion, and you're constantly peeling the layers away instead of just
That's a
seeing
very good
something
point.
from the, simplicity. I was telling Rob, because Rob's always like, man, when it comes to copywriting, like I try to keep copywriting down to maybe 4 or 5 lines, and to tell a product story in 4 or 5 lines is really difficult. It'll take me 7 hours, because
Go
I'll
back
write
and
those
forth.
4 or 5 lines 18 times
Wow.
in different ways, And Rob will be like, dude, you're the CEO, man. We can't have you spending all day doing
Most valuable man hours in the company.
He's like, dude, we need this and this done. I'm like, I know, man, but I got to get this done. But it's simplicity.
It's simplicity.
Simplicity
no, it takes
is
time.
painful.
It takes time to get it right.
It's painful. So, but it is valuable, like all things that are, anything that's valuable has some type of pain in front of it, right? I mean, nothing's ever,
It doesn't happen.
So that's kind of
Good stuff. So
Yeah,
any
man.
final thoughts as we're wrapping?
final thoughts. Well, first, it's awesome to see you.
Likewise.
It's overdue for sure. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys
Should-
both.
You should do a longer version in LA.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a
will.
quick
Yeah,
IDS.
This is great. This is a great surprise. We're excited to meet people and to see new technology and to meet customers and to form partnerships and friendships just best to you and to your team and to we just love watching you from afar and sometimes close, and we're just inspired by you, inspired by SprintRay.
Likewise.
So
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Awesome, man. Okay, so you got 9 minutes before you have to go to the next meeting, which is our competition, but it's okay.
I'm still your friend.
You're still my friend. We respect that. We appreciate that. We also have Andrew Ip from Australia.
Yep.
That was a long flight. You guys together made the longest flight here.
It wasn't even the worst of the journey. My train was my train was about 2 hours late from Frankfurt. So I checked in my hotel at about 1:30 this morning, and I'm just basically living off adrenaline right now.
So you just arrived, huh?
Yeah, 1:30 this morning.
This
yeah,
morning.
Crazy.
You look very sharp though. You don't look any jet lag.
Well, I'm just kind of used to it. I think, because you're in New Zealand, I'm in Sydney, everything that happens is just so far away. We're just so used to
Absolutely.
the long transits.
Well, good to see you in person.
Yeah, likewise.
For the second time, I guess. First time was at 3D Next.
3D Next, yeah. Seems
So-
like ages ago.
Yeah. I know we're doing an extended one on Friday, so that, and
Yes,
you've
sir.
seen IDS more, and I want you to give us all the review. But in the past 4 hours, which is the first 4 hours of IDS, what have you seen?
What have we seen? Well, Trio 6.
Trio
Trio
6.
6 is out, and that's obviously one of the biggest companies in scanning, releasing a new intraoral scanner. Really interesting pivot. We've talked about scanner hardware plateauing for a long time, and now their pivot is all AI diagnostics. So it's basically a Trios 5 with some really amazing software and AI diagnostics. Printing, you guys released all your stuff in Chicago.
Yeah.
So we
yeah,
had the
you've
Duo
seen
kit.
all of those.
We saw all of that. Your competitor Asiga released a Midas competitor.
It's not a Midas competitor.
It is different.
It's a hacked
It's
traditional printer into a crown kit.
It's
a
pods.
glorified crown kit.
It's a glorified crown kit.
Yeah.
So we got that. That's really interesting. But it shows you that everyone's keeping their eyes on you.
Yeah.
I think
it's okay. We like
I think
that.
SprintRay is the darling of the industry right now. Everyone's looking at SprintRay.
Yeah, we like that. It's the best form of flattery.
And then Straumann announced their relationship with the Midas
Yeah.
Today as well. So
Yeah,
that's
that's a
really
big
exciting
deal.
because it's a big company, and that's going to have ripples across not just 3D printing but dental implantology as well. So that was really, really.
Have you heard
good to
that?
see. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
heard it. And
Yeah.
I don't know what to feel for Rapid Shape, but that's okay. That's business, I guess. But
Business is
I think
business.
it's a very good move. I think Straumann is doing a lot of things right now to be a serious competitor in digital.
And their scanner is pretty good. Allied
pretty
Star
good,
and their own series.
And I think Allied Star is a bit like your crown resin. Allied Star is generation 1 for them. I'm sure they have like a 5-10 year plan.
So Andrew, we lost one guest, but we gained another one. So it's net neutral. Good to have you.
Likewise. Yeah. No, I'm happy to be here. It's my first IDS. It's just. Yeah, speaking for a couple of companies, SprintRay included, just over the next 5 days. But yeah, it's been awesome so far. Really
This
good
is what
to
we
see
call the Olympics of dentistry.
Yeah.
This is where all the action
Everything happens.
and-
Yeah, everything is quite literally happening
Yeah,
right
and then
now.
you got to start counting how many IDSs have you done. So.
Well, you've got to start somewhere. So this is my first. Yeah.
So what's your story? What do you do in Australia? Where do you live?
Yeah, so I guess I got into 3D printing kind of as a hobby first. So I wasn't even printing dental stuff, just stupid models and toys. And then one thing led to another, printed a couple of models, actually for a rep, because they had this side hustle that they were doing basically backyard clear aligners for their friends, yeah. But, it had to be hush-hush, right? So, he knew that I had a 3D printer. It's like, oh, can you, print me some models, I'll pay you like a couple of dollars each model. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. And so, yeah, that started the whole journey for me. And now everything's legit now, but back then, yeah, it was pretty crazy. That's where I got my my feet wet, my toes wet in 3D printing. But yeah, it's been a crazy journey, crazy journey.
So you started as a just 3D printing hobby, but now you have the AI, what is it?
AI, I guess my brand is AI 3D,
AI
and it just so
3D, yeah.
happens that my initials are AI,
Yeah, right.
And everyone thought, oh, is it
So
deliberate? But no, it's not deliberate.
What
at all.
is it?
No, it's just AI is like in my company name that stands for me, my name, Andrew Ip, and then 3D
there
is
we
just
go.
like 3D, just 3D digital
3D,
dentistry in general. Yeah. So that's where it all started.
And then what do you do? You're an educator.
Yeah, so I'm a dentist, general dentist. I pretty much do everything in general dentistry. So of course, simple fillings, cleans, the whole lot. But I try to add some digital dentistry twist to everything that I do. So all my clear aligner work is all done in-house. So I print loads of models and get my staff to cut them out. And and then I'm involved in a bit of digital implantology as well. So I teach a lot. I teach in Australia, all across Australia. This year I'll be running an event in New Zealand, and past couple of years I was running a couple of events in Southeast Asia. So I'm all over the place.
And then you teach different systems. How does that work?
Yeah, so my workshops are generally kind of not tied to any particular brand, but that being said, there are always a number of consistent players in each of these workshops. SprintRay being one, but you have Seegers, you have I don't even think Form Labs is involved, but you always have these consistent players in the market that feature in my workshops. Yeah, but it's good to have options. I mean, SprintRay is kind of I guess the darling of 3D printing right now in dentistry. But some users don't want to be locked into a particular system. It's nothing right or wrong, but it's good to have options.
Yeah,
and that's why in my workshops we generally show the different options out there in the market, and then everyone can make up their own mind.
And what are some of the main applications you have in the office? How do you use the printers?
Well, traditionally, like any 3D printing in general practice, your bread and butter is going to be models, splints, and night guards. That's kind of more than 50% of what I do. But then, you can incorporate. Well, I have incorporated a lot. As I said, I do a lot of in-house aligners. So all my clear aligner work is all done in-house now. So I print all the models, we thermoform, and I get my staff to cut them out. Then, surgical guides, implant temporaries or provisionals. And these days I do a lot more same appointment 3D printed restorations, which is why, of course, I'm quite interested in the Midas unit.
Are you Midasing now or not yet?
It's not yet available in Australia. I'm still waiting for my unit. But I mean, it'll come eventually. Yeah, it'll come eventually. But I think I really, actually years ago, I always thought that 3D printed restorations needed a specific printer. You needed something that is fast. Okay, we're not talking about, I don't care about same day. I want same appointments, right? So that needs very specific hardware. You need it to be precise, right? There's no room for error. If it's the same appointments,
it has to fit.
It has to fit. It has to be right once, and that's it. You do not have that margin of error, which you can have, for same day, or if you're doing something, you're delivering the appliance down the track. There's no leeway, right? So you need, and then after all of that, you need speed, precision, accuracy, and I think the Midas really kind of fulfills all of that, right? It's really specifically designed for chairside 3D printing restorations, whether it's provisional or definitive. When that was announced, I was like, that's it.
That's the one. Yeah,
That's
you
it.
came to Miami for the next too. It was good to have you.
Yeah.
Also, Midas provides you with it's not printing anymore. It's pressing.
Yeah.
And when it becomes pressing, we're
yeah.
able to do materials that couldn't be done before. The experience is different. So it's just a new realm of materials that Midas enables. Is something that
Correct. Yeah.
you saw partnership.
And it wasn't even that long ago, right? When we hit the 50% mark, right?
Exactly.
And everyone's minds were blown, right? And now we're talking about 60, 70, maybe 80 or even
70,
90
80,
in the future, right?
Exactly.
So time will tell how those materials develop, but it just developed so fast. You had ceramic crown, and then within 2 years, HT, right?
HT, and then
HT looks beautiful. And then I'm sure you guys got other things up your
other
sleeves.
things definitely always, as you see.
Yeah.
We get copied left and right, but that's the good.
Well, that's
sign.
it. Heavy is the crown that sits on the head of the king.
Yeah.
So it's you'd rather be on top, right?
Exactly.
Rather than being the one that chases the tail.
Absolutely. Yeah. Apparently, a seagull launched the copy system.
I think it's a good idea,
Right.
and we will see how that pans out and develops. Ultimately, I think it's good for the market to have all these different options. I speak for SprintRay, I speak for Sega. I'm not specifically, tied to any particular brand per se, but I like to see all companies succeed, because ultimately it pushes the industry, in a forward and a positive direction, right? I mean, we're no longer just talking about, in the past, it's like definitive restorations. They have to be milled. But now we actually have options that we can actually print them, economically and in a predictable fashion. Yeah, but it's good.
Nice.
It's good to see some other players in the markets kind of like doing similar things.
Yeah, but the Midas, what it provides is the ease of use, the Nespresso style.
Correct.
The material is something
and that's also, with, I think as a market, the dental 3D printing market, I think gone are the days, or soon gone are the days, where, especially in developed, established markets like the US, Europe, Australia, the APAC region, our market has to mature at some point, right? When we all first started printing, we were using consumer level printers, right? A lot of people still use them to this day, but at some point, as a whole, we do have to mature as a market. So we need to have hardware that is precise and consistent, not something that will print well 100 times and then for whatever reason it just implodes on you, right?
Exactly.
We just have to be better, right? Because our patients are expecting more, and it's just natural that we are now developing or have developed hardware like Midas, Asiga with their pods, to really make printing more predictable and just better and consistent, right? It's not a guessing game anymore. We're not the stuff that we're putting in patients' mouths. That's just some of these definitive restorations that are going to be in people's mouths for 2, 3, 4, 5+ years. Right? You can't just hope that your $500 printer is going to print predictably like that all the time. And the good thing about SprintRay is that, you're right. They haven't just thought about the printing side of things. They've also thought about the design. You've got your AI design, option out there in your cloud service. You've got your curing unit. I think the real shining star out of everything, the whole workflow, is actually the NanoCure.
Right? Like that, no?
I think it really is quite understated for such a small unit. And it really, people don't appreciate it enough that you can cure so fast. And you can specifically SprintRay resins, right? But that's the whole point. You are, as a company, you're focusing your workflow on your materials. Yeah. Whereas with Asiga, the problem is that it's good they're open, and some environments or some offices will prefer that environment where we want an open system. But the problem is that you're kind of like mixing and matching a lot, and inevitably, how can you make that a seamless process? It's very hard to do so. Yeah. Whereas if you're in control of your own materials, your own software, your own hardware, it's a lot easier for you to call it QC, right?
No, absolutely. It's more predictable outcome. Also, on the surface, open is good, but 99% of the materials out there are just bad.
Well, that's the thing.
Substandard. They're made in basements. They're not following protocols. None of them pass cytotoxicity. And reality is there's only a handful of materials that are good, and we have those available on our platform.
Well,
Going ahead and saying I have 200 materials with 198 of them are just substandard. It's just bad for the patient. That was our strategy to materials. And you saw we brought Ivoclar. Ivotion is launched. Now Ivotion is available on the Pro 2 lines. You can imagine they're going to have materials for Midas.
Yeah.
Keystone has always been a good player and a good partner of ours. They're on our platform.
Yeah.
We just announced a partnership with 3M.
Yeah.
They're bringing 3D printing materials to the Midas and
Yep.
Pro platform. Again, how many material partners you need? You need a handful that are reputable, proven.
Yeah.
You don't need all of these 200 catalog that you don't know anything about them.
Yeah, and look, realistically, as a dentist, we bill the most when we're actually seeing patients.
Yeah.
All of this, we're talking about 3D printing and the whole shebang, right? Actually, we want to touch that as little as possible.
Exactly.
Because actually, the money maker is actually our hands, actually seeing patients, not actually printing and washing and curing, right? So you really want material quality to be smack bang, right? There, especially in 3D printing in a dental office, there's no room for experimentation.
That's
Most
one thing.
dentists that I teach, like, they don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I did that at the start, and I guess, you know, the more I teach and the more I print, the more I just kind of like just get stuck into the tried and true methods, right? Using materials that I know aren't going to discolor in 6 months' time or wear away.
You had an experience that the crown was melted.
Yeah, so
mean,
not
it's not
just one
explained.
experience, mate. This is a couple of experiences.
It's
not
happening. A lot
Yeah.
of, I would say 99% of people making resins for 3D printing are just snake oil.
Yeah.
These are substandard.
Yeah.
They lie in their properties. They're not following FDA requirements. They're not
Yeah.
following all the ISO requirements. And that's, you only need 3 or 4, and those are available on SprintRay platform.
Yeah, and they're very popular materials as well. But that's the thing, right? You really, and it's not good for SprintRay as well.
It's
because
not good for
everyone
anyone.
gets lumped into the
Exactly.
same basket.
Everyone
as I
say
said,
printing doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And, then
you
you
don't
have
want
people
that.
just saying, oh, 3D printed restorations, they don't work, they don't last, they melt in people's mouths, they discolor, you know, all of that, right? And so all the good work that you've done as a company is just kind of like ruined by other people. But that's why as a market, as an industry, we actually have to, you know, put our big boy pants on and actually, you know, start maturing, right?
Exactly.
As an industry, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that as a whole, the industry is. Yeah, we've kind of realized that, yeah, we need certain specific, you know, curing protocols and
Absolutely.
all of that stuff.
No, very true.
Yeah.
And I know you've been here for 2.5 hours. Probably we should do another conversation toward the end. What have you seen, or what are you looking forward to see at IDS?
Look, I've been to Seegers, I've been to Hager's. Am I allowed to name names? I'm
Yeah,
not
of
sure.
course, yeah.
Right. I think 3D printing is always going to be popular, and it's always going to be a point in contention, and it's always going to generate a lot of buzz. Like, of course, Bassir came out with their pods, which just honestly, that came out of the blue. I didn't even know that, they were working on that, but it is what it is. Like, I think, as I said, it is a good step in the right direction. I'm really interested to see what Frozen comes up with. I went to their booth just half an hour ago, and I mean, the specs on their CS Plus units, I'm really quite eager to test that unit out. I think my unit's a few weeks away, so I'll be running that through the ringer. I think usually their Frozen printers are priced quite financially, they're very economical, they're very, very cost effective. So it will be good to see, if it could satisfy what it claims to do at a certain price point, right? I think a lot of pressure is put on them as a company to really come out with the goods, because if it doesn't come out really well, then it's kind of like, oh, well, people are just going to use their consumer level printers. So I think a lot of pressure is being put on that company right now. I had a look at Formlabs. They haven't really done too much. Desktop Health is somewhere in the corner there. They haven't really done too much. Hager's actually showed their multi-material print. Now they're releasing a new printer next year, but they were like, you can't take any photos, we can only show you samples, but this is what we have.
What's the point of showing it here?
I think just generating hype and I don't know, but yeah, look, I saw the samples.
Look good?
Look good, like multiple materials in the one print, so it's not bonded together. I don't know how the tech works, because they won't show me anything, but it'll be interesting to see, because that type of printing, you usually think, only polyjet or multi-jet printers can do it, but to do it in a DOP resin 3D printer,
yeah, that's value.
well, that'll be interesting.
Be something big.
Not necessarily for me, because I don't do a lot of dentures, but I think for labs that might be quite a good option. But yeah, they also had their A2 DHT printer with their weird little plug-in units, so you can print with less supports, and it's like almost like an optical polish type of effect as well, where you have a glossy finish. I think it's like, pumps air in between the layers or something like that. But
good stuff.
so print is always quite popular, and then you have the whole rest like milling and so I've only been here, what is it, been
2.5 hours?
Yeah, I've been here. Well, I was here since 9, so yeah, about
Okay.
2.5, 3 hours. But
stuff.
yeah, it's all firing. All the cylinders are firing.
Awesome.
And it's
Well,
busy. It is busy. Yeah.
Good luck with the show. I
Yeah.
think we talk again, hopefully toward Friday. See what you found out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you again.
Yeah.